Welcome back to Unity DAO, episode 10. I think I can call you friends now if you are watching my 10th episode or if you watched any of my earlier episode. This episode is about Unity DAO Lengana. Unity DAO Lengana. So I will start by saying thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much for watching. Hey, aye, busadi butata jane. Hey, aye, hey, aye, busadi butata jane. Hey, aye, kepale kwantana, busadi butata jane. Hey, aye, busadi butata jane. Thank you very much and welcome. This episode is about initiation ceremony in the Sakata tradition. We all know that long time before there were formal schools, formal as in received schools, formal as government regulated schools, there were schools. There were education centers where communities taught their members of how to be full participants in their communities. Education started young. When you are young, your education was within the home. Your parents, your uncles, your aunts, your siblings taught you about how to be responsible and accountable members of your community. Then at one point, the community would decide that you are now old enough for the next level, because I think we know the reason why you have grades in formal schools. So it was the same even under traditional systems. And where did people get their education before formal schools? In initiation ceremonies. And so, Bakatla, like many tribes, many communities had those schools as well. Initiation, what does it really mean? It means, moving from one level to another, from one knowledge base to a higher knowledge base. In Katling, initiation ceremonies stopped at one point and then were restarted. And when it was restarted in, I cannot remember now. I cannot remember the year now. I decided to go and be part of that education. And I can tell you, people say, why do you go? I believe that if you don't know who you are, you cannot know, where you are. You certainly cannot know where you're going. First, you have to really have a very true and good sense of who you are. Initiation ceremony, first of all, I began to value the value of music, the value of singing together, and the value of old music with old meanings that we are beginning to lose, or we've lost. Many of them we've lost. I enjoyed the fact that women could own space in the village for a whole month. And their own space, So before the initiation ceremony itself, obviously there's the actual training itself. Hurupa. Hurupa means to be trained. And what does it mean? It means you come together and you own the village. Basically, you own the village because nobody can walk in the path. Nobody can walk in the village when women are in control. And you realize that even under traditional systems, many women have always had special spaces for themselves, and I think that's important as well. And then, of course, then on the last day, you actually now go through the process of being named into a new regiment. So my regiment is Lengana. Without saying too much about what really goes on there, I can tell you it's both fun and hard, but also it creates a bonding that you don't get, I think anywhere else. And also you realize that, when I think about the actual step or the rhythm that you use when you are going to training. Communities didn't just one day know what to do this, or this particular plant is a herb. So it's over many years of knowledge. So I can tell you that when you do that step, you can walk for hours without getting tired. I mean, I really think that particular rhythm should be taught beyond just the Hurupa ceremony, because I do believe that somebody could actually do a study as to how is it when you walk like that, or you can actually walk for hours and hours and hours, without getting tired. So the normal walk that you do, so I think it's very interesting, because many of the people who'd be part of this would be old women. Old women who otherwise, get tired, they're aged, but when they're doing this rhythm, they can on for hours. But I think that's a discussion for another day. So Hurupa is just one of the ways that for me, I think you self-anchor as a Motswana or as a whatever tribe you are in. So, and I think one of the things we've lost as Botswana is the respect for our own culture and our own belief systems and our old traditions, our own rhythms, our own music. If we look at countries that have survived, there are those who have held on to, even as they are learning new things, they're not necessarily discarding everything that they have. And I think, unfortunately, we have done that and we are doing that. Like I say, you need to know who you are before you can engage with the world in confidence or with confidence and with, a true sense of purpose and a strength that says, this is who I am. And I'm not negotiating. I'm not defining myself. I'm not going to please you and be who you think I should be. Na kingwana apirile Malaysia. Malaysia ni wal shiba le manyana kwa ha. The shiba ona bina pise teluti. So I grew up in a family that actually embraced both these totems. The totem of Makabo, which is the totem of my father, and the totem of Luji or a zebra, which was the totem of my mother. I grew up believing that they were both equal, to me and for me. And I grew up really believing that you have to be proud of who you are. If you are not, other people will label you, other people will decide who you are, and other people will decide what your path should be. So for me, the most important message I want to give in this particular episode is that do not reject yourself. Do not reject something just because it's one. But we are embracing their cultures, we are embracing their way of talking, we are, their way of walking, their way of doing their hair, their way everything. Of course, as you interact with other cultures, we are going to borrow from them and adopt that as part of your culture. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. For example, we mine diamonds, but it's a culture of the Americans to wear a diamond ring as part of their culture. Culture does not necessarily mean that you made it or it comes from you. For example, the Irish are this culture to eat potatoes. But where did potatoes originally come from? Or even the Brits. So that's not the point. The point is that what you are doing, does it define you, or are you rejected only because it is part of your culture? And I think that's really, it's a sad situation that we are in. When you look at Setswana, Setswana is a very, very rich language. It's nuanced. You can say the same thing. I can speak Setswana to somebody. I can speak Setswana in front of somebody if I don't want them to hear me. Even though they know Setswana, they cannot understand what I'm saying. Because so many, it's nuanced, it's layered, but we are losing that. We're losing, that deeper knowledge, of who we are. And we are embracing a very shallow self-definition, which is really sad, but I don't know if there's anything that can be done about that. I'll give you an example right now. It's really sad. I don't know how we're going to arrest this. I'm not blaming any parent. I'm not blaming anybody. But I'm just saying it is a problem we have to deal with. Right now, we are having a whole young generation of Botswana, young people who don't speak their language at all. They cannot speak to their grandparents because they don't speak Setswana. When they move from one community to another, and when their parents cannot afford, for example, private schools, and they are forced to go to public schools, they cannot interact with other kids, or it's hard. How can it be so hard to speak your own language when you are living at home in your own language? People come from outside. Germans come from outside. They teach their children German. French people come from outside. They live in Botswana for 2 years. They have children. They teach their children French. Why is it so hard? We have to ask ourselves, why is it so hard for us to actually teach our kids Setswana? And I'm not saying that my kids are any different. Or that I'm any special or I'm succeeding. I'm just failing as everybody else. But I'm saying as we fail together, can we ask ourselves, how can we renew this? A whole knowledge system is disappearing Because in language, ha ke re Setswana hape ha se re bua Setswana he. Ke bua ka Sekalaka, ke bua ka Sekgalagadi, ke bua ka Seyei, ke bua ka Sembukusi, ke bua ka all languages in this country that are disappearing. Some of them are disappearing as our kids pick up Setswana and then English, and then they both disappear. So I'm really saying that at the end of the day, in language are hidden meanings, and those meanings are disappearing because we are no longer speaking our language. We are not passing on to other children, to new children. You know, I was talking to somebody recently about corruption and accountability and responsibility, and I was talking about Elina Nela, this story, Elina story, of these boys who are charged with, going to look after cattle, and then they steal one of them. That whole Linane is about corruption, it's about accountability. But because we are not even teaching that anymore, where do young people learn these values if they cannot learn in their own language? Which means that the whole generation of valueless children. If you talk about, the story of Ntediani, it's about consequences of your behavior, that rude and terrible behavior. So where do kids learn this if we are not teaching them about the lessons that we were taught ourselves? So for me, so I guess this really episode is a lamentation, unfortunately. And again, like I said, I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying, let's look at ourselves and ask ourselves, are we proud about who we are, what we are? What are we doing that we are trying to put ourselves into other people's skins, so that we look like other people? And we are trying to be as far away from Botswana as possible. Why? Why don't you value yourself? Why do we think we are less than other people, and therefore we have to be like them to be able to be recognized? One of the things that, is said, maybe it's because we haven't written much in the past, I don't know, but, is that every time we talk, or we give a speech, or we cite other people's philosophers, other people's poets, other people's writers. We think that makes us somehow more wiser because you actually cited an English writer or an English poet. When there are many people around you, there are wisdom around you, not just in poetry or in books, if you can't find the books, but even your own folklore, in your own sayings, there's wisdom, but it's very, very rare for somebody to say, as Motswana says, will say, as Mr. whatever from England says. And do you think the English are quoting us? I don't think so. I really don't think so at all. So every time you have to cite somebody, a source from outside this country, whether it's a judge, whether it's a speaker, whether it's a politician, whether it's a teacher, ask yourself first, can't I find that wisdom here? And is that person quoting me? We think somehow is stronger, is wiser, makes more sense because somebody somewhere said it. And therefore, if I say it again here, then it means that clearly it's very, very brilliant because somebody Motswana said it before. Can we begin, to respect ourselves, love ourselves? That is a short episode. Let's meet again next time. And thank you very much.